where we have this x equals negative b plus or minus the square root of b squared minus 4ac all over 2a. And then we get a number for x, right? X will equal some number. Well, what does that mean? Big deal. X equal 2. What does that mean? Anyone? Anyone? Huh? X equal 2. Anyone? Anyone? Didn't I go through this? I thought I went through this. Pretty sure I did. Okay, so first of all, we're dealing with quadratic equations, right? And if I were to graph a quadratic equation, see, I've got my y-axis, I've got my x-axis, okay, what's the parent function of a parabola? Or if you're like in disease mode, parabola. What's a parabola? What's a parabola? What's the shape? A U. In fact, my parent function looks like this, right? Right, 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 right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. Y equals x squared. That's my parent function equation. And actually, it's y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. But my c and b are zeros, and my a is 1, so that's, we kind of just simplify it to y equals x squared. If I were to put another parabola on this, or as some of you would say, parabola, where else can I draw a parabola? I can put one on the bottom somehow, like that. And then I can do actually another one, can I? I can actually put a really big one in here. Suppose I put one like that. Or upside down, doesn't matter. There's infinitely many parabolas, right? I'm still kind of, what's this x equal thing? Were they what? Not the y-axis. X-axis, right? These points here. Okay? Because this, x equals a number, but my y is going to equal 0. So I have x comma 0, x comma 0. Here I have, this point happens to be not only the x-intercept or solution, it happens to be the vertex too, right? What about this guy over here? How many solutions or zeros does this guy have? None. No solutions. So that's when I was doing the quadratic formula on those worksheets, there were, I know, at least one situation, I believe, where you didn't get a solution because you got the square root of a negative number. Okay, that was this scenario here. No solutions. This one has 2 solutions. This one has 1 solution. There's a way to figure that out before you actually do the whole quadratic formula, which one you're dealing with. And that's what this little box down here is telling us. It says if I take that discriminant, well, actually, let's go ahead and do one of these. Okay, let's go back and do one of these by the quadratic formula. Number 1, what's my a? It's 1. It's a coefficient of that, right? What's my b? And what's my c? 3. Okay, and then we plug that all into this quadratic formula and we started grinding it out, right? x equals negative b plus or minus, I should put that in parentheses, the square root of b squared minus 4 times a, which is 1, times c, which is 3, all divided by 2 times a, which is 1. Okay? And then I had you guys do this part off to the side, right? And I called it the discriminant. The square root of b squared minus 4ac. Now, it is called a discriminant, but without the square root. I just had you guys do it with the square root because it was easier to do the problem when you went to go plug it back in there. But b squared minus 4ac is what's called the discriminant without the square root. That's what this chart down here is all about. The discriminant, b squared minus 4ac, if it is positive, mathematically we say if it's greater than 0, positive, then there's 2 real solutions. If I take b squared minus 4ac and I get equals 0, then there's 1 solution. And if I get that negative number, b squared minus 4ac, and it comes up negative, then I have 0 solutions because I can't take the square root of a negative number yet. And I say yet because in Algebra 2, you're going to learn how to do it. So, back to my problem. So I'm going to take the square root here. We went along. We did 6 squared is 36 minus 4 times 1 is 4 times 3 is 12. So this equals the square root of 36 minus 12 is 24. So right off the bat, I know how many solutions am I going to have? 2, because 24 is positive. Okay, there's going to be 2 real solutions. Now, if I plug this back in, I get x equals negative 6 plus or minus the square root of 24 all over 2. If you give me that answer on a worksheet or test or quiz, I'm happy. I'm good with that. You'll get full credit. But those challenging problems, you can reduce that, can't you? Because we learned how to simplify the square root of 24. In fact, we did a whole chapter of radicals. Chapter 9. Remember how to do that? Remember? 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 Anybody? Anybody? Remember? 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 Anyone? 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 How do you do it?
You got this, Julian. You said you knew how. I did not say that. Yes, you did. No, I didn't.
Anyone? Anyone?
Right
Anyone?
No, they didn't.
Okay, we split. Okay, I'll give you a hint. We're going to split this off to perfect squares and imperfect squares. Okay, look, she's got the worksheet right there. Okay, now, what are the factors of 24? Anybody? 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 1. 1 and 24. 2 and what? 3 and 8. 4 and 6. So there's my factors of 24. Any of them a perfect square? Four is 2 squared. So that's my perfect square. Goes right into there. So I need the other factor of 4, which is 6. So this square root of 24 is 2 radical 6. So square root of 24 reduces to 2 radical 6. So I'm going to rewrite that. x equals -6 plus or minus 2 radical 6 all over 2. Does anybody see anything in common there? Anyone? Anyone? Yep, there's a factor 2 in all of those. Okay? So, -6 divided by 2 is -3. 2 divided by 2 is just 1. 2 divided by 2 is 1. So all of this reduces to -3 plus or minus 1 times the square root of 6, or just square root of 6, all over 1, which is just -3 plus or minus square root of 6. Now, if you do that, boy, I might just put you in like pre-calculus or something. Because that's special. I would get you a teddy bear or something. Maybe a hug. Not sure that's legal, but I'm happy if you guys get it to this point, okay? I don't think you guys see the humor in that. Probably think I'm some kind of creep now.
Good job, Julian.
Yeah, get a haircut, Julian. Alright, let's do, this is all you have to do. Okay, let me show you what you have to do for your homework. Number 3. My A is 3. My B is what? That's right, 2. What's my C? This is all you have to do. Just plug it into B squared minus 4AC and tell me which, how many solutions you have. Okay? So, B squared, 2 squared minus 4 times A, which is 3, times C, which is -3. 2 squared, 4 minus 4 times 3 is 12, times -3 is -36, right? So this comes out to positive 40. What's my answer? 2 solutions. That's all you have to do. Two solutions. Tell me how many solutions there are. Now, you've got 7 problems here to do. You've got like 3.5 hours to do this. I think you guys can finish. If you really want, I can get you the book, a textbook, and you can do these problems. But I think by this time, if I put a textbook in your hands, it might start on fire.
Julian.
But if you really do, there's a whole back for the textbook answers. But I'd be happy if you just did those 7 problems. Questions, comments, concerns? Anything about the test coming up and what we're going to do? Who said yes? Yes, Brendan. I'll still count the quizzes. Any others? Anyone? 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 You.